Alrighty guys, so what is going on? ANC Covers here and welcome back to ANC Entertains here. I'm sorry, I keep fucking that up. Actually, I'm gonna switch around my camera. This ain't gonna fuck up the video, luckily for us. But today I'm reacting to an infographic show video. This is called Our Cop Shows Teaching Criminals How to Get Away With It. Live PD helps criminals. Let's get into this.
Purpose of this introduction, let's imagine you are an unethical kind of person and want to commit the perfect crime, meaning you want to get away with it. Maybe you want to commit a robbery, escape with the loot, and leave no trace whatsoever of yourself behind. You want to be in and out like a ghost and spend your plunder without ever being caught. Or perhaps you have murder on your mind, and you know the victim to be. With today's forensic technology, how could you do that and evade capture by the cops? Well, you might think about turning on that TV or firing up the laptop and watching a cop show. Will that help? We should let you know that this has been a big debate for some time regarding just how much cop shows might educate and so help criminals. We found evidence that a number of prosecutors and law enforcement have said they believe that these shows are making life easier for criminals. But we also found evidence that points to the contrary. Let us present our findings. So the major concern of some police is that criminals, thanks to TV shows, are now much better at hiding DNA evidence. This has sometimes been called part of the CSI education effect or just CSI effect. This is quite a broad term, however, and has often been related to matters of juries being influenced by the show CSI. The influence being that jurors often expect lots of DNA evidence, which in real life...
It says, there were 10 witnesses. He had a motive, and my client, he pled guilty. He's guilty. But where's the DNA? He's innocent.
Not the case at all. We won't discuss this issue today, and we'll concentrate only on if criminals pick up certain tips from the shows. Wayne Farquhar, a cop who had decades of experience with the San Jose Police Department in the U.S., has said in interviews that he has witnessed criminals over his time in the force using improved techniques to get rid of DNA evidence. These techniques have appeared in movies and on TV. He once said, "I see crooks more aware of protecting themselves against leaving DNA, whether it's by using gloves or masks, or the way they wipe down things and clean." So that's one option. We might ask, are criminals just getting better with time, or have TV shows directly influenced them? Let's imagine, like at the start of the show, that you wanted to off someone, maybe your boss. Perhaps you need to know a few
I would like to say, I mean, I have watched Live PD before. I love that show. I watched it a lot. So, I mean, you can find, like cops explain on that show where, like, when they find drugs or contraband or whatever, they explain, like spots where people will normally hide stuff, like shit where they normally find it. So if you hear where they normally find it, you know, you could just throw it somewhere else in your car or somewhere. So I definitely see how they could be giving out information on how they crack down on criminals.
First, do you think you should don plastic covers over your shoes and wear a white protective suit, such as was worn by Police Sergeant Sean Dignam at the end of the movie The Departed, when he committed that final murder? Oh, spoiler alert. What if you want to get rid of the body and all traces of blood, hair, etc. from the victim or yourself? Oh, Jack and we have a code of conduct. Oh, damn it. I'm working on it. I promise you, they are not...
Fuck, I didn't even know that was an ad.
How do you clean up in this case? What chemicals will do the job? Where do you dump the body or weapons where they'll never be found? Well, perhaps a TV cop show might be helpful with a few things. This has been discussed over the years, with some people saying these TV shows do help criminals. Sometimes statistics have supported this, but as the saying goes, correlation does not always imply causation. Meaning just because numbers seem to support something, it doesn't mean that the link leads directly back to the cause.
There you
Over
go.
a 5-year period, Americans got fatter on average, and during that time ice cream sales went up. It doesn't necessarily mean ice cream is to blame for the increased weight. You have to look at many factors. For instance, some law enforcement officials said after CSI came out, fewer sexual assault cases in the USA were resolved over a certain period of time. Does this mean that the show helped the perpetrators of those crimes? Well, there is a correlation, but it doesn't necessarily mean CSI was the cause. Over the years since CSI came out, we found stating that quite a few women had said their assailants had gone to great lengths to make them shower or sometimes bleach their bodies. Was this because those assailants had seen that on TV? We also found a case of a double murder, and the killer was a devout fan of CSI. It said that he did a rigorous cleanup of the crime scene using chemicals, and he also got rid of the gun in a way that it couldn't be found, or so he assumed. He used blankets to prevent the spilling of blood, and on top of that, he did a good job ensuring the fibers from his clothes or his cigarette butts were not around the crime scene. He was caught in the end, so it didn't work out for him. Nonetheless, after that, some American news media talked to certain law enforcement officials who believed the show CSI and perhaps other similar shows were educating criminals. Why were more criminals cleaning up after themselves? A captain of the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department told CBS News they are actually educating these potential killers even more. Sometimes I believe it may even encourage them when they see how simple it is to get away with it on television. In the same article, the chief of the criminal division at the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office said people are getting more sophisticated with making sure they're not leaving trace evidence at crime scenes. We should say that most crimes do not involve such commitment to cleaning up the crime scene, and it's well known that most murders are crimes of passion or gang-related, and those are often very sloppy jobs. Cops said it's just some killers and other criminals that were getting better at clearing evidence. Some argue that there is a possibility.
God damn with you ads.
That indeed a small number of murderers might have been educated somewhat, but the vast majority of killers are just not clever enough to do a comprehensive cleanup.
That's what I was wondering. That guy had his tongue sticking out. Those are all their IQs.
Just don't feel inclined to do the work. One investigator even went as far to say most people who commit murder are pretty stupid. There's evidence that some victims have learned from CSI too, or at least one victim of a crime. One woman in the UK who had been sexually assaulted by a man and had been in his car had actually pulled out some of her hair and left it on the back seat. This led to his arrest and said that she learned that from watching CSI.
Wow.
The 18-year-old woman said she had even spat on the car seat. The assailant, a British Army soldier, got 11 years. The thing is, he had told the victim to wipe herself clean to destroy DNA evidence. She later told the media, "It sounds silly, but I've always been a fan of CSI programs. I've watched so many of them, I know what to do and how things work." After hearing that, you might think that if the victim can learn something, surely the perpetrator can learn something too. But just how much? Well, a team of psychologists at a German research facility wanted to know just that, and they spent a long time researching this, to the extent of analyzing crime scene statistics in the USA and Germany from the time these TV cop shows came on the scene. They also interviewed convicted criminals and asked them how they'd learned to evade arrest, and if the cop shows helped. They actually said in the paper we interviewed experts, meaning criminals. The researchers also asked non-criminal participants to join their study. Some of the participants were self-confessed heavy consumers of crime procedural shows, while some others were non-consumers of such shows. First, the participants were asked to commit a mock crime, just some stealing. It was to see how well they committed the crime in terms of evading arrest. The researchers then set up a mock scene that looked as though a murder had been committed. The participants were asked to go in and clean up the crime scene. The research paper described it like this. We also tested for forensic awareness with an explicit knowledge test. In the last experiment, we tested which factor predicted efficient criminal behavior the best. Subjects committed a mock crime and were tested for implicit knowledge as a function of age, gender, education, forensic crime series consumption, technical prowess, and personality. It sounds quite exciting, and we're sure you want to hear the results of this study. Okay, part 1. What about crime statistics in the USA and Germany since these shows came about? After looking at crime figures and clearance rates from the German Federal Bureau of Investigation and the American Federal Bureau of Investigation, the researchers concluded that after shows such as CSI started airing on people's TVs, there was no significant change to clearance rates, although trends did change. They said this couldn't be caused by the shows, though. But get this, they also said, a large number of crimes go unreported or undetected and never make it into the official statistics. In Germany, 50% of murders go undetected. Consequently, one could argue that criminals use knowledge they obtained from forensic.
Wow. It said 50% of crimes, murders in Germany go unsolved or unreported.
Crime series do not appear
Undetected.
in official crime statistics because they manage to evade detection. So that could mean criminals have been educated by these shows, but we can't really prove that's why they got away with their crimes. It's just impossible to say exactly how and why criminals avoided detection in the USA and Germany. As for asking the convicted criminals if the shows are of any use, they interviewed 24 such criminals. They first asked the criminals where they learned to avoid detection, such as where does one learn how to wear gloves or not leave DNA evidence. They asked them what were the best sources of information available as to getting away with crime. It turns out that while a lot of those criminals had watched CSI and other similar shows, none of them said they used it as a way to avoid police detection.
Wow.
When asked, they said the best place to learn the tricks of the trade were other criminals and friends. These guys were already in prison, so we expect much of their education comes from fellow prisoners. The prisoners did admit that perhaps TV shows could provide some learning opportunities, but they just had not tapped into those resources themselves. As for non-criminal participants committing a mock crime and trying to get away with it, some of whom were big fans of CSI and others that did not watch the show, the researchers found absolutely no connection with watching the show and not watching the show with committing a better crime or getting away with it. The mock crime scene was pretty well done, replete with a fake body, fake blood splattering, shell casings, door handles, etc. The researchers concluded both groups left a similar amount of forensic traces on both crime scenes. Out of interest, though, they found that male subjects were better at cleaning up a crime scene than female subjects, while younger people were better than older people. Also, those with more education were better at cleaning up the scene, as were people who worked in technical professions. Those were mostly men, too. You might conclude from this that if you're young and male and a technical kind of guy, you stand a better chance of getting away with a crime. The leader of this study said this in conclusion: over many years, it was presumed that certain links in this regard exist. Although there were no appropriate studies to prove this, we can now dispel certain myths that have been coursing through the media and other publications for the past 20 years, because we're able to state with relative certainty that people who watch CSI are no better at covering their tracks than other people. So, there you go.
So that's going to be the end of the video, guys. I'll talk a little bit about crime. I'm not going to incriminate myself, but I'll talk a little bit about crime. My advice, like, I don't condone crime. I don't want anybody to go out stealing, robbing people, stealing cars, shit like that. But if you are going to rob something, if you're going to beat somebody up, if you're going to do anything, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Do not have other people help you with said crime. Keep everything to yourself. Keep everything a secret, because one of the people that you trust are going to get caught, and you will get fucked up. I'll tell you guys a story then. This won't incriminate me because I got brought home by the cops when this happened. So, this is why I say don't trust anybody when you're doing a crime. I once set a dumpster ablaze, fucking high as shit next to a factory. Azim and his little brother, he had a can of axe spray, and he was trying to make a flamethrower out of it, and he was trying to burn the shit in the dumpster. There was a whole bunch of wood, plastic boxes, and shit like that, so he wanted to make a big-ass fire with it. So I told him to give me the fucking axe can because he couldn't do the fire right. So I fucking, I lit the fire, made that shit nice and big. He threw fucking leaves on that shit, and we ran, of course, because we know the cops are going to be coming. So we ran. And, you know what Azim did? I'm not, like I said, I don't fault Azim for this at all. I don't fault anybody for this, but it happened. Azim had left my phone on a ledge. There was like a concrete wall that you could jump down right by the dumpster. And Azim left my phone on that ledge. So when I got home, I realized, I was like, fuck. I was like, I don't have my phone. And we just lit that fucking fire. I was like, I hope to God my phone isn't where that fire is. So we start walking back slowly to this crime scene. And we get 2 blocks past my house. And I'm like, yo, bro. I was like, let me call the phone real quick. See if anybody picks up. And somebody did. It was a police officer. Do not trust other people if you're going to commit a crime. That's all I'm going to say. Do it yourself. But, like I said, don't do crimes anyway, because you don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. Nobody wants to be in jail. People get fucked in jail. So, like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Azim might be over today, so we might be doing some reactions. So, don't post notifications and give us some suggestions.